Hello everyone, welcome. It's your good buddy Spider. We have another great show for you. We've got a pretty packed show, to be honest. I have a lot to talk about tonight. I have a lot of topics. Some of them are of interest pop culture wise, and some of them are just kind of like, whatever. But quite a few things going on. But how you doing? How's everybody doing tonight? It's great to be back on the show, as always, Uncanny Media. And I've been feeling better. I think for last week's show I mentioned I might have had a bit of a cold, either developing or it had developed, and I've been dealing with that a little bit. And I'm mostly better now. I have a little bit of a cough, and that's about it. And I think I'm pretty much over most of it. And the weather is starting to cool down. It's getting to be the end of August, and it's starting to cool down quicker than usual. Usually we're still pretty warm into September, but this year it's cooled off considerably, so expecting some colder temperatures here in the Ohio regions. And I also have to say that we've been rescuing again. You guys know I lost not one but two of our elderly cats not too long ago. And one, of course, was an orange cat, and the other one was a gray cat, and they were brothers. From different litters. One was a few years older than the other, but still. And recently, apparently, someone had abandoned a family of kittens at my wife's workplace. I guess the mother did not make it. I'm not sure why, and I didn't ask the details. It seemed to be one of those subjects that were kind of like, oh. But the kittens were left alone. And there were three of them. One of the dudes at the shop, he adopted that one. So it's got a home. It was a gray kitten. Okay? The other two were orange. Kind of coincidental, don't you think? Kind of a weird coincidence. But we didn't know what to do with them, and so I said, well, let's take them home and make sure that they're okay, get them vet visits and make sure they're all right, and we'll decide what to do with them. We'll see if we can find them homes, or I have a sister who fosters kittens, and maybe she'll take them. So they're here with us, and I think it's almost a given that they'll probably end up staying with us. We have a vet appointment with them tomorrow to make sure they're all healthy and that they have all their kitten shots, and then I guess we'll see. So it's on to new kitten adventures again. I've got some lovely scotch this evening that I'm going to be sipping on while I talk to you. And let's get into some discussions here, because there is a lot to talk about. I do have a lot to talk about. I'm going to start with something that's not going to be. It's not in the subject line of this episode, because I thought about throwing it in after the fact, because it's a weird. I'm on Instagram, but not because I post a lot of pictures or anything. I got on Instagram as another just promotional tool for Uncanny stuff. I used to be on Instagram, and I used to post a lot more often, and then I got rid of most of my social media. And then this last time, when I thought I was going to give everything a try, I was going to experiment with Blue Sky and Twitter and X and all that other stuff, I got onto LinkedIn, which I'm still kind of using, but it's kind of useless. And I got onto Instagram, which also is kind of useless. But I noticed something about Instagram lately, and it's a weird. This is kind of an interesting subject, and I know I'm going to have people who listen who are going to have different feelings about different things, and I'm not going to get into certain political things. I am going to mention one or two things, but I am going to say a couple things. I went down. I was on Instagram and I saw. I have noticed, and I don't go looking for things on Instagram. I don't search up topics. I don't join groups. I don't follow people willy-nilly, as the phrase will go. I don't go looking for controversial things. Okay, so if people say, "Well, how'd you get on this subject? If you were you interested in this kind of thing? Because that's weird." No, and the people are going to think now that it's some kind of weird like sexual deviancy thing, but that's not it. I have gone down this rabbit hole, and I'm not of these beliefs myself. I just want to clear this up. I am not and I know when people say this, they're like, "Oh, why would you feel the need to say it? Maybe you're defensive about something." No, I'm just being honest. I am not I'm not a racist or sexist person. I believe in a vast level of equality among people, but also of individuality. I think people are always going to be better at certain things than other people are, but that doesn't mean their worth makes them a better, more worthy person than another person, right? So just because I'm a smart guy and I might be smarter than a lot of people out there, it doesn't necessarily put me on a pedestal and mean that I'm a better overall individual than they are. Because they can, like, there's plenty of people who can. I talk about pro wrestling, right? I can't do what they do. I can't do what pro wrestlers do. I don't have the strength. I don't have the stamina. They're better at that than I am. But that doesn't make them better people than me, right? Is the point I'm saying. I hope that makes sense. Because it makes sense to me. But, so anyway, what am I talking about? There's that cough coming in. Better take a drink. Now people are going to think, "Oh, he's stalling. He doesn't want to talk about it." I went down this rabbit hole of anti-Jewish memes and things. And I'm not talking about anti-Semitism. Is that it? Anti-Semitism? I don't know. I'm talking about people who they have this weird thing about hating Jewish people. And it's an archaic, like, pre-1900s kind of thing. It's bizarre. Like, they post the memes of the hook nose and things like that, and the greedy money changer look that was the stereotype for the. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong or anything. I disavow any of that kind of stuff. I think that's hate speech, honestly. But there's people who go nuts about it. And they're on Instagram posting pictures and posting articles and posting reels and things, and just, it's really weird. I didn't know how widespread it was. I didn't know it was widespread at all. I thought it was just a couple, like, oh, well, these people are kind of just weird and old-fashioned. But there's a lot of people. There is a large contingent. And I don't know the statistics. Like, I don't know. I can't say, like, 1 out of every 3 people is. No, I don't know that. I haven't looked into it that deeply or looked for any data on it. It's just something that I noticed that there's a lot of. And I think it's probably partially the algorithms. If you see something like that and you're kind of like, wow, this is fascinating. It's awful, but it's fascinating. Why do these people say these things? But if you look at some of their things, then the algorithm says, oh, well, you obviously want to look at similar things. So that it starts showing you more randomly. Which is a clear failing of the algorithm, I'm sure. But it's bizarre just how many people have this irrational hatred for a group of people. And it's not. Let's delve into it a little bit, because right now there's a lot going on in the world between Israel as a state or a country or whatever you want to call it, Some people don't say it's legitimate, some people do, and I'm not here to debate that. But there's a lot of politics in the world about that, and Palestine, and different things like that. And I just want to say I am not against any particular group of people having their own nation or having their own space, right? But I also think that a lot of the problems in that area of the world have been there so long that there's no point in the rest of us trying to mess with it. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of stuff about, oh, the United States is a staunch ally of Israel, and we will blah, 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 blah. And I get it, but I don't think we should be supplying them with weapons or vast amounts of money. Just like I don't think we should be sending weapons or vast amounts of money to any other country that is involved in various struggles that are basically stalemates that have been like that for thousands of years. I don't think it's any of our business. We've got nothing to do with it. It's this strange preoccupation we have with having, despite the fact that the country was supposed to be founded on religious freedom, which means the freedom to worship or freedom to not worship. It goes both ways. There's this weird sentiment that because people see it as, oh, well, we were founded as a Christian nation, that means we must defend Christian values, and Christian values begin in Israel, which is the Holy Land. I don't agree with that. I don't think it's a holy land anymore. Whether it was or not in the past doesn't matter. I don't think any of that over there is now a holy land. It's gone on too long. There is nothing sacred there. It's just land. And please bear with me. I'm not trying to tell people that your beliefs are crap or that you that there wasn't significant events that may have happened in the past there. Okay, but there's nothing there now. People have their own churches and mosques and temples and whatever there, but it's not the same. It's not a holy place anymore. And it's a hard concept, I think, for people to grapple with. It's like in South America. In South America, you have the ruins of the Incans and the Mayans and the Aztecs, and you have temples and you have ritual spaces, but they're not sacred places anymore. Nobody lives there. Nobody uses them for that. They're ruins. The Greek ruins, and amphitheaters and all this other stuff, the Roman viaducts, none of these are sacred places. The Temple of Zeus, it's just a place now. It's a bunch of stones. Do you get what I mean? I think fighting over it as a religious icon, I think it's pointless. You haven't seen anything miraculous come out of it in how many hundreds of years, assuming that those kind of things happened. I'm playing devil's advocate here, but it's not holy anymore. It's not sacred anymore. I don't know. I'm sure that's going to ruffle some feathers, and people are going to be upset. And they'll be like, "How can you say that? You don't have the right to say that. It's a holy place, and it's not up to you to decide that it isn't." And sure, but can we look at it logically for just a few minutes? I don't know. So Instagram is a weird haven of anti-Jewish thought and memes, and it's kind of gross. It's kind of gross. And some of these same people, they're anti-black and they're anti-this, and they're pretend Nazis is what it is. They don't know the ideology that they're pretending to stand for. And it's just hateful for no reason, is what it is. It's just blind hate because you don't like, or because you believe that, oh well, the entire world is run by Jews, and because of that they're causing us all this whatever. And I don't, listen to yourself. Look at what you're citing as evidence. Come on. It's ridiculous. I don't know. It's fascinating, but it's ridiculous. And I just have to wonder how these people live day to day under the assumption that they're being screwed by. And maybe that's what it must feel like to be a racist person, to walk down the street and see somebody with different skin color, and just have this irrational thought that person, they're driving a nice car. Obviously, I'm getting screwed because they have a nicer car than me. They have more advantages in getting nicer cars than I do. And I guess, I don't know. I can't understand exactly how that feels. I can't understand the mindset that goes that direction. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get it. Like, racism it makes no sense to me. I don't see the point. The only people try to justify it and say, oh, it's because they have more opportunities than me, and because no, it's just because you don't like people with that skin color, and you rationalize it. And I don't see why. Like, what's the point of not liking people with different skin colors? Like, what is it? What's the rationale? I'll never understand it, I don't think. It's just so weird to me to feel like that. Because when I see a person, I see a person. I see a person. I don't care what color your skin is, I see a person. If you're an asshole, then I'll also see a person who is an asshole. But if you're not, then you're not. And that's that's all there is to it for me. Right? I don't know. It's just weird. But that's Instagram. And it's off-putting. It's very off-putting. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about trademarks, and not for the reason that you think I am. You probably think I'm going to talk about the trademark thing I've had to mention the past several weeks. But I'm not going to talk about that. That's working itself out in its own way. That's all on autopilot now. That's all automatic. I don't have to do anything with it. I'm just monitoring the situation. But let's talk about Cracker Barrel, which started one way and has ended another way as of about 4 or 5 hours ago. Cracker Barrel is a restaurant. I don't know if they have any places outside of the United States, but it's a United States-based old style restaurant where they're supposed to serve like old country food, like farm cooking and things, stuff that you would just get in an old homestead and whatnot. Which, it's been modernized, of course. It's not exactly the same, but you have like turkey dinners and ham breakfasts and stuff like that. For most of their existence, they had a logo that said Cracker Barrel, Old Country Store, and it had an old man in a rocking chair next to a barrel. That was the Cracker Barrel, because apparently a thing in the South was you would have a barrel that you could get crackers out of. I don't know the significance, but that's what it was. It was the Cracker Barrel. You'd buy crackers out of the barrel. And apparently I read somewhere that the man wasn't just some person. It wasn't just some random person that was artistically inserted there. He was either the founder of the restaurant or related to the founder, or was part of their family or something. He had something to do with the restaurant's beginnings. Right? Well, recently, over the past week, the restaurant chain made the decision to change its logo. And they changed the logo by taking out the old man and the rocking chair and the barrel and the tagline Old Country Store. And so it was just Cracker Barrel. And people got furious, obviously, because that's what happens every time. People got furious. And they said, you're trying to erase the old man because he's got a certain skin color and things. And see what I mean? This is where the tie-in is. It's a weird... people are weird, man. But, and they were comparing it to when the Aunt Jemima character was removed from the maple syrup and the Land O'Lakes Native American was removed from the butter and different things. And I'm not going to get into the specifics for some of that. Some of that is silly. Some of that really, I didn't see the point in erasing these icons. But, you know, whatever. Man, if I could talk and not get dried out, my coughing is going to mess up this whole episode, I think. Excuse me. I apologize. So I'm not going to get into like a sociological debate about it. But people were upset about this change with Cracker Barrel. And I get it. I get it more from the perspective that it was supposed to be somebody, like the guy who removed from the logo was part of the original branding because he was part of the original family that owned the restaurant, right? But as far as like people were using the term woke and things like that, and anytime you use that, you got to know people are full of it. Woke as a term is such a stupid idea. It's dumb. It's ridiculous. And it's just so dumb. And I get also from a corporate standpoint that they were looking to modernize and they were trying to make it stand out and compete with other brands, I guess. I don't know, maybe like against people like Bob Evans and whoever else does what they do. But the backlash from it was ridiculous. There was a lot of people upset. And I don't know. I don't think the old logo was problematic. I don't think they got rid of the guy in it because he was problematic. I think I don't think it was woke to be honest. I think it was they were trying to modernize and for whatever reason. And yeah, the new logo did look kind of flat and kind of boring. It was just said Cracker Barrel and that was it. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And, you know, didn't have a lot of oomph to it. But as of a few hours ago, they have reversed that decision. They have restored the old logo and they've changed their mind and they've said they're not going to change it from here on out. And they announced this on their Facebook page. And I don't know what difference really that it makes. You know, I see both sides, but I don't understand the weird race-based undertones of it. Again, because I don't understand behavior like that. I didn't see anybody particular. Didn't see the old man being erased because of that. But maybe I'm ignorant. Maybe I'm willfully ignorant of the undercurrents of these kind of things. I'm sure somebody out there is listening to be like, you are, and you don't know a thing that you're talking about. And I don't know. I just don't see the world that way. But the controversy is over for now. The logo is restored, and all is right with the world, apparently. But it was something people were mad at, and I don't understand. And I remember people being mad about the Uncle Ben's rice, how I think Uncle Ben got removed from the rice. He had dark skin, and whatever reason they took him off the rice. Aunt Jemima, she was a dark-skinned woman. They took her off of the maple syrup. The Native American girl on Land O'Lakes, they took her off. I don't know. I know all of the reasoning for it was that, it's insensitive. But I don't know. I didn't see these people as caricatures. I saw them as people who enjoyed a product, right? Just like anything else. And I think we're getting to a point where we're just not going to have any. We're not going to have any faces to advertise products as far as like anything cartoony. I'm not talking about like Count Chocula. Count. I was talking like I was from Tennessee for a minute. Count Chocula or something like those cartoon stuff. But as far as any sort of semi-realistic representations of people that aren't the real people, like having the athletes on the Wheaties boxes are probably fine because they're real people and they endorsed it. But I think we're going to get to a point where it's just going to be either straight cartoons of somebody who's not really a person, who doesn't have a discernible skin color. They're just going to be like a monster or an animal or anthropomorphic something, right? Or we're going to have real life people endorsing it, like athletes and movie stars, and that's going to be it. We're not going to have anybody. We're not going to have any sort of stylized pictures of anybody on products. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, honestly. Will it make a big difference? I don't know. I don't think it's like the end of the world. Dude, I think it was definitely a different time when we used these spokes people that we created for products, like the kid from Mad Magazine and things with the wide face and the freckles and the big ears. Maybe it's good that we're getting away from all that. But when I was growing up, I understood that these weren't real people. That they were like cartoons. And maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe people believe that it's disrespectful to have somebody look realistic, but also be a cartoon because then it's a stereotype. I don't know. It hurts my head to think about sometimes. It hurts my head to think about these kind of things. But everyone who was upset that Cracker Barrel changed their logo can now breathe a sigh of relief because the logo has gone back to the classic and they aren't changing it. And the old man is still in his rocking chair. And all is right with the world, I suppose. If that's something that upsets you, then you can feel good about it. Everything now. Pardon me. Let's talk about the next big weird controversial thing. Let's talk about Labubu. I know some people are going to be like, what? What are you talking about? Labubu. It's a little monster doll. It's a monster doll. And I'm going to pull up an image so I know what I'm talking about a little bit better, because I don't have one of these, and I'm probably not likely to buy one because I don't care. But it's a little furry monster looking thing with sharp teeth and claws, but it's cuddly and it's for kids. And I can see why people might be a little bit upset with it for their kids, because anytime you market monsters to kids, depending on the look, people get upset. This was made by a Korean designer, as far as I'm aware. And it's got an interesting look. It does look kind of creepy. It doesn't look like anything to particularly worry about, but it does look kind of creepy. It looks kind of like one of those Where the Wild Things Are monsters, to be fair. So, and we've had that for years. So I don't think it's objectionable on that account. But people are looking at this as if it's a truly demonic toy designed to connect your child with demonic energy and blah, 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 blah. And they're even going so far as to say that the name is what it is on purpose to be similar or indistinguishable from another name, which is Pazuzu. Now, what is Pazuzu? Pazuzu is a Mesopotamian demon. And when you load up pictures of statues to Pazuzu, which were around in Babylon and I believe in possibly Akkad, I don't know if it goes all the way back to Samaria, but definitely Babylonian. You pull up images of the statues, and most of them do not look like... They don't look like this Labubu creature. But people are equating them together because of how similar the vowels are, or the word patterns. Labubu, Pazuzu, right? I can make up my own. Kamumu, Gabubu, Gajuju, Kasulu, Lieutenant Sulu, right? It's not... I think people are reaching on this. Yeah, it's a creepy looking doll thing. But that's... And I, at risk of sounding like I'm trying to perpetuate stereotypes, okay? In Asian cultures, there are a lot of monsters, whether friendly or otherwise. There's a lot of them. And they're spirits and they're monsters and things, and that's just kind of how it goes. And I don't think this was intended to be based on an ancient Mesopotamian demon. It doesn't look like it. It doesn't... I've done a lot of extensive studies on Mesopotamia. And I'm pretty familiar with the various spirits and gods and demons and things that they had in their pantheons. And Labubu doesn't look anything like Pazuzu. And at this point, maybe your head's starting to kind of get... You're getting a headache because of this ooh amount of the word use. Labubu, Pazuzu, it just makes my head hurt. Right? And there's somebody outside. Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike because of their radio. I don't think there's anything to worry about. I don't think it's a demonic thing that's out there to corrupt your children. I don't think it's like Ouija boards and things of that nature. I think it's just a fad item that's kind of creepy, but that's what it is. Like the Furbies. Furbies were real creepy. Because if you put like a row, a circle of Furbies on the floor, they would all talk to each other. Because they had these sound chips that were... It's not like AI. Like a lot of people thought it was, it's early AI. But no, it's just sound chips that cue off of other things that they hear. And if you have a conversation with them, then they're programmed to respond in certain ways. And so Furbies were real big. I heard something about Furbies were coming back, but I don't know. It reminds me of other things, like different fad toys. The Beanie Babies. People still go nuts over those at its height, like the collecting of that when people would spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get first editions or whatever, or a whole collection. Remember Tamagotchi? Do you know what those were? My sisters had Tamagotchi. I don't know how many we had in my house. We had like at least 2 or 3, maybe. It was a little handheld, like electronic gaming device, kind of, with a keychain attachment, so you could carry it along as a keychain. And it started out as like an egg, and you had to keep it safe, and then it would hatch, and then you'd have to monitor how much you fed it, and what you fed it, because you could feed it junk food or you could feed it healthy food. And you had to monitor how much, because you couldn't feed it too much and you couldn't starve it. And you had to play with it. And then we had these models where if it was bad, you could scold it. Or, I mean, to be honest, you could scold it anytime you wanted. I'll get into that in a minute. And you had to take it with you everywhere, and they got banned in schools, just like anything else that takes up kids' attention. And people would steal them and whatnot. And eventually, if you took good care of it, it would grow an electronic, like, full-sized, on the little tiny screen, of course, a full-size adult creature. And then you could keep that alive for a while, and then eventually it would pass on of old age in a weird, morbid way, and then it would leave behind an egg for you to do it again. You'd have to reset it. Now, if you didn't feed it right, then it could starve. And if you scolded it too much, then it would get despondent and it wouldn't want to eat. And it was pretty highly interactive for being such a small thing. Now, me being kind of the jerk child that I was, I would find my sister's Tamagotchis and I would overfeed them or scold them to the point that they would just give up on life. Now, I've never done anything like this to an actual animal of any kind. I have never attempted to starve a real animal for science. I've never attempted to mistreat them just because I felt like it. I love animals. I've always loved animals. Cats, dogs. I took care of peacocks on my family's property way back in the day when they had peacocks. I did my best to take care of them when I was out of school and before I moved on. We've had turtles come through the yard when I was a kid, and I tried to take care of them. You know, my dad had fish, all kinds of stuff, and so I've never had the inclination to mistreat a real animal. And even in video games, like I don't like playing video games if I know that there's going to be an animal that's going to get killed. Not like a wild monster that you're going to have to fight. But if you're paired up with a dog or a pet or something, Call of Duty Ghosts, you're paired up with the German Shepherd, right? And I had to make sure before I played that game that the dog survives at the end, because it gets into an accident and it hurts its leg and it's like, oh no, and you get separated. But the dog lives, it's okay. Which made sure that, because, right, I wasn't going to play it otherwise. And, but I would take my sister's Tamagotchis and I would brutally mistreat them. Because that's what I thought was funny, apparently, as a kid. So what's the point of that? I think the Labubu is just a fad toy. I don't think it's going to corrupt your children. I don't think so. I think you're safe. If your kid wants one, whatever, it's creepy, it's weird, but I don't think it's going to be actively harming your children's mental health and causing them to commit heinous crimes. I don't think so. Personal opinion. I mean, if it turns out I'm wrong and the Labubus all rise up and turn into a marauding army of imps, then, well, I guess I was wrong. But I doubt that's going to happen. I don't think that is likely. Okay? I don't think it's likely. Just like I don't think the Tamagotchis are all going to develop artificial intelligence and seek revenge for all the people who mistreated them. So, like I said, it's a weird. This is kind of a scattered show because there's all these weird things that people are concerned about right now, and they don't make a lot of sense to me. Like, why are you upset about all this? Like the Instagram thing. Why are people upset with Jewish people to that point? I get how some people are like, well, we need to boycott Israel because of the battle against Palestine. And, I understand each side of that argument. I'm not involved with any of it. None of it has anything to do with me. I think we shouldn't be involved with that overseas at all. So, it's not our business, it's their business. Let them sort it out. But to just have this strange, irrational paranoia that all of the problems in the civilized world are because of Jewish people is just asinine to me. It's not logical, for one thing, and it's just borders on nonsense. It borders on nonsense. It's like the old Russian thing where, if it's Russians, it must be terrible, and the Russians are all against us. And yeah, I know we have issues with Russia right now, but we kind of brought those on ourselves. I've said this before, that part of the issue that everybody has with Russia is because of everything that happened with the Soviets. The rest of the quote-unquote civilized world decided the best way to deal with Russia was to strangle its economy. And we've been doing that for a long time. And understandably, I think they're a little bit upset about it. I think they have been angry at Western Europe and the United States for a long time. Now, were we justified in strangling their economy? Maybe. Because during the Soviet period, the Soviet Union was a big bad thing. Right? It was a big bad thing. But since everything fell apart, you would think that maybe we would try to help develop some kind of better way of doing things for them. Like maybe help them get out of the shadow of all that, but we really didn't. We kind of were like, okay, well, whatever. And then when they started getting aggressive and being like, well, we're this and we're that, then we kind of mistreated them in every way possible, and monetarily is the way that goes. And now it's led to the situation where we're at. We've strangled their economy out of fear of just what they had been before. And it's not beyond the realm of understanding why they would be upset with us about that. Because their economy is completely broken. It's in tatters. The Russian economy is busted. It's absolutely busted. Regardless of how many radio hosts go over there and say, oh, look at the groceries. The groceries are so cheap and blah, blah, blah compared to here because it's Russia. And, well, sure, but that's because the price has to go down because otherwise nobody will buy anything because nobody has any money. That's how the economy works. If nobody has any money to buy anything, then nothing gets bought and products go to waste and companies lose money. So those companies have no choice but to lower the price on things because otherwise they can't sell anything. You might as well sell things at a lower price than sell nothing. And then the theory is that the more people will spend, then you can raise the price as it goes and hope the people's spending keeps up with the price increases. Which is how things go in the United States, although we're hitting a bit of a wall with that because we're hitting the point where people's wallets are starting to really strain. I mean, these groceries are really killing me. Every month, these groceries, they're worse and worse. It's getting a lot more difficult to spend money out here. And part of the issue is that we have stocks and we have all these other things that make up the shortfalls for things. So big corporations can rely on stocks and they can rely on other bits of income than just selling the products. So the prices of the products are going up and up and up and up and up without a lot of attention because it doesn't matter as much whether you're selling them. It's whether you're selling the stock options and whether you're, other intangibles. So it's an interconnected system that's all kind of running itself into the ground. But that's why Russia hates us, because we're sticking them in the wallet. We are sticking them in their wallet. And of course, anybody, when when someone messes with your money, you're going to be upset. If anybody messes with my money, I'm pretty pissed. I'm pretty angry. I was pretty upset when I got the legal letters from from that so-called trademark lawyer about that other thing we talked about a few episodes ago, trying to get me to pay for the other person's legal fees and to pay all this, like, give all your revenue that you might have collected during any of the time you were using the branding that we don't also own, but we're going to threaten you with it anyway. Remember, that's why I got pretty irritated with all that. But, that's a situation that resolved itself. And is continuing to resolve itself as we speak behind the scenes. So, yeah, so it's a weird world right now. It is a really strange. It's a really strange world. And I suppose maybe it's always been like this, and I'm just noticing it more because I'm of that age where I'm paying more attention to it. And it makes me grouchy, but I also have this unquenchable need, I suppose, to be well informed. Whether I take a stance on an issue is less important in knowing what the issue is and what the standpoints are. So if I ever did want to take a side on anything, at least I'd be well informed. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. I'm not just picking a topic and just watching somebody on YouTube say, you know what, this is what I think about whatever. And I make sure I look at different perspectives for everything. I don't like to ever take the first facts, quote-unquote, that come my way, because those might not be the truth. Those might be somebody's version of the truth. You get what I mean? And there's always another version of the truth. Until you get down to it and find what the facts are, because facts are facts. The issue is the interpretation of the facts. And we have a lot of people that will interpret facts in different ways. And that's where the problems start. It's when people interpret facts poorly or in a way that doesn't make sense, that doesn't follow any sort of logic, that doesn't seem to have any bearing on anything based in reality. And that's when things get tricky. That's when things get difficult. But I do a lot of research. Excuse me, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. It's a late night. It's a late night for me. It is a late night for me. We're getting close to the end. We still have a few minutes left before I'm going to close it off, because I like to go at least almost to a full hour if possible. So it's worth listening to, right? So it's worth listening to. Do you have a Labubu? Are you going to buy one? Are you going to buy a Labubu, and are you going to buy one for your kids? I'd like to hear about it, what you think about it in hand. Like, is it really so terrible? I've seen people in some of my paranormal... I'm not in paranormal groups, but I do follow some paranormal pages because of my affiliation with This Uncanny Earth, because that's part of what we do. And there are people who are kind of giving it legitimacy, that it's an evil thing, that it's a... And as usual, I understand the perspective. it looks disconcerting. It, from a certain perspective, it looks disconcerting. But I don't get it. I don't get the fear. I don't understand. It's like when Harry Potter came out and it was just like any other wizarding book. I mean, I know people out who really are into Harry Potter are like, what do you mean? It's just like any other wizarding book. It's fantastic. It's unique. It's this. I'm not talking about the literary pros and cons about it. I'm just saying there were already many other books about going to like a wizarding school or wielding magic as a child suddenly against the forces of evil. There's been a lot of that over the years. As a science fiction fantasy reader, it's not an unheard of thing. But with Harry Potter, you had a bunch of religious parents all upset because it was going to teach your kids witchcraft and it was going to teach your kids this, and I don't think so. I have never gone out in public and seen a child attempting a Leviosa and succeeding. I don't see them making pacts with evil spirits. I just don't see that. And but it's a very similar thing that happened. Like people get weird about this kind of stuff. And it's all symbolic. It's all symbols. And symbols have power, of course. Symbolism has power. Ideas have power. And it was just the idea that something could happen that got people afraid. And that's the lesson. That's the lesson, I guess. It's a lesson that we learn all the time in my field of talk radio and various things. It's that ideas are dangerous. And if you have ideas, it makes you dangerous. So don't have any ideas, obviously. Just follow what you're told and what you read in certain books and don't dig too deep. That's what people will tell you. And they might not tell you that directly. They might say it circumspect, kind of dance around the topic a little bit. But that's because people don't want to be uncomfortable. And I can get that because I don't want to be uncomfortable. I like comfort. I like to be comfortable. But sometimes you have to be uncomfortable with certain thoughts. You have to be uncomfortable with certain ideas because certain things are things to avoid, like all this stuff on Instagram with the weird anti-Jewish hate. It's we should be uncomfortable around that. We should be like, that's a weird thing to be upset about. Why are you like that? And if the person just can't give us a satisfactory answer, we should just stop dealing with those people. Don't give them, like, I'm not saying take away their internet access and take away their access to the outside world, but don't acknowledge them. Don't give them the time of day. Don't let them have their sounding board. Don't deliberately cut them off. Because they're just going to shout louder. They're going to say, oh, well, I'm being oppressed. Obviously there's something truthful to what I have to say, or else you wouldn't be trying to shut me down. It's oppression, and it's true, and la 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 la. But there's no reason to entertain that kind of thing. We don't need to put up with it. We don't need to entertain it. I don't do the whole, like I said, I don't do the whole hate thing in that regard. I definitely have situations and people in my life that I'd say that I hate them, but not based on any of their beliefs, not based on any of their skin colors, not based on where they were born or where they were raised, but because of their actions. Because actions are important to me. Words in some respect, but people can be false with their words. People can be untrue with their words. It's a person's actions that say what they're going to do. And if a person acts a certain way, then it doesn't matter what they say. If they demonstrate the way that they are through their actions, then they can talk all they want because their words don't matter. Do you get what I mean? That's... And that's why I try to go by authenticity. Authenticity is a big part of what I present to you folks. It's how I present myself. When you talk to me online, and when you hear me on this show, and then if you talk to me in person, it's the same thing. I'll tell you the same ideas that I have on the show, that I've written down, that whatever. I'm going to continue being 100% accurate in every facet of what I do. That's authenticity. Because I think that's really important. I think it's important to present yourself the way that you are. And I don't mean to, you got to be guarded about some things. You don't want people to know every little secret about your life. I don't let people into my house. Not because I'm ashamed of anything here or because I don't have any reason. It's because my house is my private space. It's the one spot that I have where I can just completely shut out the entire world if I want to. I can turn off the TV, I can turn off the computers, I can turn off my phone. I can just be home and comfortable. And if other people come into my home, it throws off the groove. It makes things different. I don't like being a host. And maybe people are going to say, oh, that makes you selfish. You're not going to be a nice host to people. Well, it's my home. It's my private space. When I'm out and about and I'm hanging out with people out on the town, I've been known to pay for people's drinks. I've paid for people's food. I do things like that because it's no big deal. We socialize, we hang out, we talk. But if I'm home, this is my space. This is my private space. I don't want anything to invade my private space. Because it's the only private space I have. Once I leave the house, I don't have the privacy anymore. Once I leave the house, I'm out in the world. And anybody anywhere can see me and make whatever assumptions they want. But here in my home, everything's great. Even if I'm having a bad day or even if whatever, it's my house. It's my sanctuary. It's my safe space, to use a term. It's where everything is right with the world. I can eat. I can drink. I can be warm. I can be cool. I can be whatever. Right? So anyway, I don't even remember how we got on that. This show went all kinds of different directions. I had a lot of topics for it, and they all kind of got finished by 40 minutes. But that's it. That's the show. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. And we got more stuff that's going to come up in the near future, of course. Lots of good topics to talk about. And I look forward to talking about them with you. So unless there's anything else, I think I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to finish this scotch up, play some games, do some things, and that's all. Have a good night.